He has been in military intelligence. He's been in news articles. He's been on national news. And he has given us impeccable intel that checked out with our FBI sources, that checked out with our other military sources, Navy SEAL sources, Delta Force sources, White House sources, CIA sources, just very accurate. He's just giving you what the thinking is of some of the smartest people that are interfaced with stuff. He's not giving you classified stuff. So we got a short segment here, long segment coming up. So Zach joins us to give us what's going on with the shooting, Florida, the rollout against free speech, what's happening in the Middle East, just what's going on in Trumplandia here. So Zach, thank you for joining us.
Yes, Alex, it's great to be back on and have the opportunity to connect some dots. There's obviously a lot of moving pieces right now, so we got to get into it. But just to piggyback there on the Syria info this wasn't brought up, and this is just now breaking, and we could look it up in real time as I'm talking about it. What's going on in Syria right now? This just got discovered. North Korea is being used to false flag Syria in World War III. And I know that sounds sensational, but go ahead and start looking it up. New York Times put the story out here a couple hours ago. Maybe a couple minutes ago, they were pressured to do it by decent factions within the UN that we forced their hand. This sounds pretty fantastical, but this is a reality. So there are some trade programs going on with factions in Syria and North Korean groups or whatever. We have to realize that North Korea is a Chinese deep state-backed thing. So we would say, why would they be helping them? Well, this is the deep state and the communists trying to sabotage us and get us into a World War III with, by proxy, Russia. This is happening. The stories are out there. 40 containers were discovered. Stuff that, the chlorine-based weapons, all of this stuff. So not only are they trying to sabotage the talks legitimately we're having with North Korea, they're trying to tie them into this red line fiasco in Syria and kick off a major global war, all while they are doing the same thing here in the States, which we could get into the big problems in Broward County, the continued false flags, and not to mention the information coming out of Cambridge and the Dark Trace Group, which is the digital false flag info. So we have quite a number of things to get into, so we can kind of start picking at them if you'd like.
Okay, we've got a minute. Start with one of them.
Okay, so the North Korean stuff is pretty important. The Syria issue, over the weekend you have 60 Minutes and Scott Pelley putting out the expose of tugging on the heartstrings that there was a chemical attack in Syria that occurred. That is accurate. A chemical attack did occur, but it did not occur by the Assad forces. Let's just be clear, that's ridiculous. That's suicidal. We know it didn't happen by them. It was the quote-unquote rebel groups that got the capability in containers shipped from North Korea on record. They were discovered by UN workers there, on the ground, and they were forced there to report it. And this is what's going on the ground right now in Syria, which ties into a bigger global issue and, kind of a tug of war of power. But this is pretty critical information because this is not just some accident. This is showing the real issues of strategic patience on the Korean Peninsula and really what it's going to do, and how deep this really goes around the globe.
Wow, this. But DrudgeReport.com is linked to it right now. InfoWars, one strike away from YouTube ban. That's the Hill. Now, again, on Friday, CNN said they filed the complaints. They got one strike to ban us having live streams. Another strike froze the account. And then the Hill says Jones claims it's part of a CNN lobbying campaign, but never even points out they said they're behind it. They filed the complaints. So see, mainstream media out of hundreds of articles will never even tell you that another news organization known for fake news, CNN, is trying to shut us down. That's so sensational. But the bigger news is, in triangulating this, chemical weapons, they've tried this 3 times. They've launched them twice, saying that the Syrian government launched it, but the Islamists love to, the ISIS forces love to say that, videotape it for fame and fortune. And so they always videotape themselves doing it. But this new case, they found some of it, and they're now saying, oh, look, Syria's behind it. Who's trying to kick off the big war, break it down? Let's get into all the other things that are happening. The school shooting, the climate, the whole situation, Zach.
Yes, and it all ties together because, and it's no coincidence that Trump makes his announcement for 2020 because he has to see who's really on his side here. It's unprecedented to come out this early, and he has to do this because we are in an absolute war. It's happening right now. Jerome Corsi has hinted to it. The military tribunals are being set up. There's so many issues going on around the world, and it's really incredible. But This latest thing in Syria, this is obvious false flag. They're blaming the Assad regime, which is completely ridiculous. And by blaming the Assad regime, they're really tying Russia into it and really putting us at odds with Russia and trying to get Trump to do something here with the red lines, with the general, some of the global political thinkers there at the White House, which is very dangerous. There's still a real threat in the Middle East right now, but we're distracted at home with these other issues that I believe are fabricated. In fact, I know a lot of them are fabricated at home to really distract us, and they're double barbed to take individuals like you, your organizations out, push the internet censorship, do all this at the same time because we have their number with Trump in the White House, and they have to pull out all the stops. Otherwise, they are done. And they know that the writing's on the walls. They know that Guantanamo is being emptied. They know that their power brokers, that their financiers are going to be prosecuted, and they're going to try their darndest to assassinate our president. But if they cannot do that, they are going to kill people at country music festivals. They are going to kill kids in schools. They are going to start wars around the globe. They are going to crash the economy because they are done and they are guilty. If you were in their shoes and you thought like they would, it's not that hard to come up with this conclusion. And I can tell you in real time this is happening. And when you go to Broward County, you got big problems in Broward County with Sheriff Israel and his heavy connections to the deep state and the far left factions, especially the Clinton crime family. Not to mention that he's hired as a deputy sheriff there in Broward County, Nazar Hamzy. And who is Nazar Hamzy? Nazar Hamzy is the former CARE head honcho out of Tampa, Florida. And CARE is the Council on American Islamic Relations, which is really a deep state Muslim Brotherhood major political player. It's what they are. That's exactly what they are. And this guy was the head honcho out of the Tampa office, which is the pinnacle of CARE in this country. So he went out of his way to hire Mr. Hamzy in Broward County. I can't get into certain speculations on what happened that day in that school. Of course, kids died. The question is, how was this allowed to happen? What's the deeper story? And what's going on? This is not an isolated event. These have been going on in a timeline in this country since Trump has been elected. And it's obvious. But they're going to guilt and shame patriots for even speaking about this, which is their tactic. And they're even pushing Trump here because Trump is he's meeting with the governors and he is going to push some sort of gun control, very limited but something. And with his major base, it's going to have major delicate implications in 2020. So they're going to do everything they can not to have him in 2020. And if they can assassinate him physically, they will attempt to do it politically by forcing his hand here.
Well, I know what he does where he'll do something that sounds reasonable, so then they ask for everything, and then he doesn't have to do anything knowing it's all a fraud, just like he did with the whole Dreamer situation. But I still just don't know why he'd make this move, because they want total gun bans. They're never going to give up.
Well, it's so complicated now when you have dead children. They've stopped at nothing. There's dead kids now. They are psychopaths out of control. There's dead kids now, so like there has to be a reaction. And it's just like, this is, what do? You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't do something here. He has to do something. I mean, there's a political reality to that. But let's just get into what's going on in Broward County with the Sheriff Israel, which is deep state connected, no question about it. His downfall, I think, should be the hiring of the deputy sheriff, Nazar Hamzy. And Nazar Hamzy worked for CARE, and the reason I keep on bringing CARE up because I'm very, very aware of CARE. Let's just say real close to CARE. Well, I was in the military in 2009. I did an event with them in Tallahassee called Florida Muslim Capital Day, where they use these organizations to go to state capitals and kind of bully and lobby legislators in the actual capitals. And this is a political arm of the Muslim Brotherhood, make no mistake. And I just saw what they were doing. I understood what they were doing. And my position in the military obviously had me interacting and kind of utilizing them in certain capacities. And what I saw was incredible, what's going on out of CARE. And CARE is not just shy little, hey, we're just a SJW political pro-Muslim organization. They are a Muslim Brotherhood affiliated group, make no mistakes. They're just on our shores. And that's without question. And, out of Tampa, Florida, there's some real issues coming out of that branch out of Tampa, Florida, which Mr. Hamzy ran. So you want to talk about having a separation of church and state? These guys are in our capitals. Just on March 5th through the 9th in Oklahoma at the Capitol they're having one of their next Muslim capital days. And this stuff kind of gets, pushed under the rug. But you have to understand, when we had another administration in the White House working with these NGOs and other, 501c3s, The things that were being done, the sanctuary cities, the Syrian refugees being
This is a rebellion. This is a total breakaway where they tell MS-13 that ICE is coming to get them in Oakland. It's sedition and expanding on that. It's not even bashing Muslims. It's the special Muslim Brotherhood groups. Look what Turkey's doing. Right there in Europe, they're setting up at every capital their own Turkish party saying, do what Turkey says. So these are Turkish citizens saying they're there to basically conquer Europe. And the politicians, the Western politicians want this because it's part of a larger global takeover. That's what's happening.
Yeah, CARE is not looking out for the faith. It's not looking out for Muslim Americans in the country. CARE is faith pimping. They are using the faith as a whole to get in and make political moves. You know, they're not. Yeah, they're in the community doing some things, but they are in capitals doing things. They are getting people in the legislature. They're getting Keith Ellison in Minnesota. They're in the legislators. They are in the political system. They're tied to the Awan brothers. They were deeply entrenched in the Obama administration. They are deeply entrenched with the Clinton family. And I have firsthand knowledge in 2009 where I was talking and communicating with the very, very, very top, the funding helms out of English, but, you know,
Start over. Your phone broke up at that critical point, Zach. You were talking to the very top.
The very top of the funding helms of CARE out of Tampa, Florida, Saudi Arabia, who get their marching orders from Saudi Arabia. And I was involved, obviously, in I really can't get it. Some work in the United States military where, let's just say, it involved Fort Hood, the Fort Hood shooting, mini plots, all these shootings around here. These groups, these political groups, are instrumental in getting these people, handpicking these individuals.
Well, we know Major Hassan was in communication with Al-Qaeda for 2 years. The CIA knew about the attack months before and didn't stop him. Same thing now with this attack. And by false flag, they're letting them happen bare minimum. Why would you do that?
You have to. They're in their death hurdle. There's military tribunals coming. I don't think people understand what's going on right now. Donald Trump signed an executive order which put our nation into a state of emergency. This gave him the legal right to hold military tribunals. These are happening. Guantanamo had a chain of command shuffle.
And you agree, though, clearly that's the first thing I thought, 980 days out. He's doing this to show who's loyal and who isn't, because he knows Romney's getting ready to run against him, but acting like a friend. That way they have to all endorse him now, and that kills the whole fake Republican field. It's a very smart move.
You're going to see exactly where people lie there. And after the shooting, he's getting real savvy in the political sphere of things. But they forced his hand here. Listen, this is the ruthlessness of the deep state. There's dead children here. There's dead concert goers. There's kids that were hit by chemical attacks in Syria. But this was not the Assad regime. These are the same people killing kids in Miami that are dropping chemical weapons in Syria. The same money's behind it.
Well, I mean, we got teachers and students reporting men in, quote, army guard, and the police stand down outside, and now the stand down's confirmed. And we even speculate they ban us. Since when are you not supposed to, in America, when you have the reports of the stand down and you've got somebody like you that's got the credentials to not talk about it? It's incredible, and this just shows the purge. And if we give into this, we'll give into everything. But I legitimately said I don't think it's crisis actors and a false flag. But then the evidence, Rush Limbaugh has picked up our report dealing with the sheriff's deputies shielding criminal activity in Broward County for many years. There's a major scandal with the previous sheriff. And all I know is they banned our videos on YouTube that had nothing to do with saying they were crisis actors, but they were students on local news, on national news, and then that we talked to, all saying the same thing, that they saw crews while the shooting was going on, that it was men in full garb, completely covered, that they were taking body bags out as the police were there throwing in the backs of trucks. Then we have video from choppers of body bags being thrown in while the shooting's still going on. I don't know what's going on. But you got David Hogg being fed lines. I'm not saying he wasn't there, just he's obviously a spokesman for the gun lobby, anti-gun lobby. And then bizarre video, David Hogg says sister lost 4 best friends, then 2, then 3. And Facebook journalists have been kicked off if they share the video. So I've green-lighted this going up. And they're going to ban us anyways, folks. We have to fight back. We have to spread the word. YouTube's had to back off after doing a second strike and banning the channel. And I guess they're like, no, we got to find a better video, because in that video he said they weren't crisis actors. But the Zach is well known. He's not giving his last name. He's been involved in famous anti-terrorism cases, and he lives there in Florida. He's involved obviously, different things are on there. And you're saying that this is part of a deep state operation. All I know is we're being very judicious about this, and none of it adds up. And that CNN's having fake town halls, and then they're using this to ban everybody. And famous baseball players simply say these kids look coached, and they're kicked out of the baseball Hall of Fame or not allowed in. I mean, what happened to free speech here? I mean, we know they're attacking that.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just going to shame and guilt people into this, and it's the same sort of thinking behind pushing Trump's hand here to actually do something that's going to cause him some friction with his base. And it's sick, and it's out of control. These are the type of interviews we got, and all this is going on. Meanwhile, on a AI front, we have to get into this because this is critical, and I know that you're experiencing, obviously, a lot of disruption, we'll call it, on your site service and the like there, because it's obvious what's going on. You're being attacked, and now we have individuals. Well, it was well known in Silicon Valley with some of the decent factions. The majority are out of their mind in Silicon Valley, but there are some decent factions who knew the worries of these AI systems. They're worried about jobs being taken, but before that, it's going to get into what I'm about to discuss. And so, just to preface this, just to let everybody know, the Chinese premier is essentially becoming anointed in China. This is supposed to be the Chinese century. Trump kind of derailed that. Our economy's back on its feet. And now all of a sudden you're seeing the Chinese also pull out all the stops because they're not happy about the prosperity of America, which, they also hold a lot of debt of and everything else. So I just got to preface with the Chinese situation, because what we have here being broken out publicly, we knew this. The people who knew this, but publicly out of Cambridge, the Dark Trace group has finally come out with what's going on online. This major AI system, which is putting malicious software onto people's computers, organizations' computers, and software, anything smart, laptops, phones, computers. And what they're doing with the software is gathering all your messages, they're gathering all of your emails, they're gathering all of your calendars, all of your itineraries, everything. This is then being uploaded to an AI system that learns how to mimic the way you talk, the way you interact, and also who you're talking to. So once they also get into your computer, it then drags that to whoever you're talking about and repeats that process.
And then, hold on, then it could engage. Let's come back from break, and we'll get more time with you, and then Pachena will come on. Then it can launch a AI war, making everybody fight with each other, mimicking friends, family, neighbors to cause societal collapse. Is that what you're getting into, is the ultimate weapon? The Kingsman talked about a wavelength being projected out of the phones, which we know they have that stuff. But we're talking about beyond that, where the AI calls, send messages, does all this, and I've read about this, to then cause massive social distortion. If you think all the race war talk's bad, if you think them saying we said things we didn't say and putting all over the news, that's primitive high-tech information war. We're talking about beyond that, and App Source is proving it very, very accurate. And he was getting into the different AI systems, the different power blocks in the world, and Apple has announced it's moving to China. They're accepting the zero tax plan, but they're going to merge with the Communist Party. China announced 5 weeks ago to counter Trump. They just said, move here, no taxes, but you got to let the people's party control you. Now the president's becoming a dictator. He's already a dictator of the Politburo and the Central Committee, but now he's a true dictator if this goes through. And I just saw a headline in there. Can you put that headline up, guys, that I was talking about? Where someone in the public sphere told a story that wasn't sexually explicit and wasn't sexual, but could be construed as interpreted as sexual harassment. So the mental illness level, fired League of Legends coach, the story I told wasn't sexually explicit, but could be constructed or interpreted as sexual harassment. That's the next level of this stuff. And here it is. YouTube hits Alex Jones with second strike. Watch these banned videos. CNN lobbies to have competing media platform removed. Then we have an update. They've now removed the second strike because the video is the opposite of what they said, but you can see it there. And it's only because we have our own platform that they had to do that. We're going to finish up with Zach and then go to Dr. Steve Pachenik to give us an update on his take on all this. So finishing up, Zach, you were getting into AI computers, being able to mimic humans, getting all your databases to then do what?
Yes, and then also, so they're using those, getting the computers, getting the information, learning how to mimic you in real time, and then also on everyone's phone, computer, all these things, they're using the transcript and transcription, the transcript and translation service that's picking up audio in real time. So it's spying on you in real time. You've been talking about this for years, but this is a part of the AI system that's being. So when you're, entering in passwords, when you're talking about plans, when you're having, talking about how location of servers, passwords into servers, passwords into everything, they're getting it in real time, and they're going to be they're clipping audio, they're doing things, and where this all leads right now, it's just sabotage. So you're going to have some disruption coming to your site. Maybe when you run a store there, so there might be unfulfilled orders or something in your own carts and stuff like that. But what it's ultimately leading to is digital false flags, where once this AI really learns who you are, and they could physically recreate you and digitally from your
it will have you go, and the AI will create even a video of you in sex chat, believing you're talking to a 5-year-old girl. And then it will artificially frame you.
Yes, so they'll start something minimal that's social shaming, but then they'll get into.
It'll have you order drugs online that get shipped to your house. Just basically the next level of spoofing.
Yes, it's coming, and right now it's going to start at sabotage. Hopefully, they can knock you off that way and have the public just do their bidding. Because who needs crisis actors when you have full spectrum dominance? If these kids really are brainwashed and believe it, it is what it is. I'm not going to go there, but listen, things aren't what they seem, and people don't want to come out and say it due to retribution. We are in a war. This is not the first false flag. This is one of many, and it won't be the last. They're forcing their hand. The tribunals are coming, and all of these things we're discussing lead into this point. The military tribunals are coming. And, they were supposed to release six detainees from Guantanamo last week. That didn't happen. They were going to release one of them into Saudi Arabian custody. And people need to look, and I can't get the names, but look into exactly who this individual is. Because if you don't think that these guys aren't talking to our current administration, you're wrong. They are so found out. They are so guilty of what they've done overseas in these wars with these individuals who are actually in Guantanamo that they're done. And they are and this is a tough thing. Why hasn't it already happened? When is this going to happen? When this occurs, it will be the biggest kinetic shift in the world ever, that the world's ever seen. We're talking about people in the Obama administration all the way up to Barack himself being tried. Because when you pull things off like you did in Libya and you did in Iraq initially, and the real information that we have on Saddam Hussein, the real information on the State Department dealing with Muammar Gaddafi, you have a big, big problem. So yeah, you better do everything in your power to either set this country and this world into World War III or kill the President of the United States if you're them. And believe me, they are trying every day. Because they are so guilty on a karmatic and global historical scale that I don't even know how they maintain consciousness. Once this is revealed in this year, at the end of this year, when these things start occurring, if they don't set this world on fire, will change the world obviously forever. So they're doing everything they can. They are in a deep state death hurdle going towards the inevitable. But they're not going to go down without a fight. These are kids who are killed trying to force us into a position politically to get out of control and kill our own, all while starting World War III in Syria and the Korean Peninsula simultaneously. This is sick. This is fantastic. This is you couldn't write this script. And if you even question it, you're shamed. You're guilty by association. You're burned at the stake, and it will be the end of us. Because the people who are doing the left's bidding and the deep state's bidding, I just want to let you guys know, there's no loyalty. If you think it stops with Alex Jones, if you think it stops with InfoWars, if you think it stops with Donald J. Trump, what's going to happen in 10 years when you're the target? It's bigger than this. This is a fight for humanity. This is a fight for the right. And this is unprecedented what's going on, but I just hope Trump has the wherewithal to really go through with it, because really doing this is going to shake.
Well, I mean, they've already got hundreds of cities saying they're telling MS-13 when the police are coming. They're in total sedition. The Democrats are running around psychopathically saying kill all the NRA members. They've turned their minions into frothing, violent people on the street. And these blue areas are like cancers. They're the ones attacking. Zach, I really appreciate your time. You're a great patriot. Your info is always amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex. Pleasure to be on.
All right, we've got